And we're rolling.
Hi, I'm Chris Ruli, an author and historian on Freemasonry. Okay. Don't cut it. Hi, I'm Chris Ruli, a Masonic historian and researcher and author of the new book, The White House and the Freemasons from McCoy Publishing. And today, we're going to answer some of your recently searched or commonly searched questions on Google. Okay, so first one here. Was President Washington a Freemason? I assume this is President George Washington. Yes, he was a Freemason. He was initiated in Virginia in Fredericksburg Lodge number 4. He was, I would say, next to Benjamin Franklin, the most popular Freemason, or the most known popular Freemason in America during his lifetime and especially after. Was President Washington a Grand Master Mason? Okay, so for the Masons who are listening to this video, you'll know that no, he was never a Grand Master, or he was never elected a Grand Master. Though there was an attempt sort of early and during his lifetime and a couple decades after, there was a thought about creating a General Grand Lodge, or this sort of national governing Grand Lodge. And so a couple states did suggest that if they did create a Grand Lodge, a national American Grand Lodge, he would probably be a good fit to serve as the Grand Master. And so there were some states, some Grand Lodges that thought about making him their vote if they were to create a Grand Lodge, but that never actually happened. So was President George Washington a Grand Master Mason? No, not really. He was never elected. He never served as a Grand Master. But if there was a General Grand Lodge, who knows? Was Thomas Jefferson a Freemason? He never actually was a Freemason, or at the very least, we don't know if he was. We don't have any records of it. In correspondence and letters, there's not really any sort of suggestion that he was a Freemason. There was a really good article in the Scottish Rite New Age magazine. The librarian of the House of the Temple, William Boyden, did a really good research on Thomas Jefferson to identify if he was in fact a Freemason. And he effectively concluded that there was a lot of hearsay, there was a lot of speculation, and a lot of research, publications and Masonic papers and pamphlets thought he was a Freemason based on one entry where he attended a Cornerstone ceremony. But that doesn't necessarily mean you are a Freemason if you attend. Those ceremonies are public, and there were other presidents and dignitaries that attended that event as well. So unfortunately, Thomas Jefferson, not a Freemason. Was President Roosevelt a Freemason? Okay, well, there are two Roosevelts, and both Roosevelts, yes, were Freemasons. Teddy Roosevelt was a Freemason. In fact, Teddy Roosevelt became a Freemason after he was elected vice president, and then would go on, obviously, to serve as president of the United States. And FDR was a Freemason. He got his degrees earlier before he became president, and then he joined the Scottish Rite and the Shrine and all those other interesting organizations. He was active, moderately active, as most of American President Masons were. I'd argue that he wasn't really active during his term as president. Was President Johnson a Freemason? Okay, so this is, again, just like Roosevelt. There were two Johnsons. Andrew Johnson served as vice president to Abraham Lincoln, and then after Lincoln's assassination, Johnson became president. He was a Freemason. He was a Royal Arch Mason that we know, and he also was a Knights Templar. In fact, there's a really nice picture, carte de visite they call it, of Johnson in his Knights Templar attire that you can find online. He was mostly active, or at least we know a lot of his Masonic activities occurred that we have a record of during his administration, where he was quite active in the fraternity. He attended Cornerstone ceremonies, he attended banquets, he invited Masons to the White House, so he was pretty active. Now, the other Johnson, Lyndon B. Johnson, that sort of question is a little more complicated because it depends on what your definition of a Mason was. So Johnson, when he was elected to serve in Congress during his first term as a congressman, He did receive his entered apprentice degree in Johnson City Lodge in Texas. He did not proceed or complete, so he did not go become a fellcraft. He did not become a master mason. So some people say, well, maybe that doesn't qualify him as a Freemason, and some others say, well, he became an entered apprentice, and so you can still technically be considered a Mason at that point. So that's up to you. On to the next set of questions. Did Freemasons, let's see, did Freemasons design the White House? So James Hoban, who was the architect of the White House, was indeed a Freemason. He was a popular architect. In fact, the reason he won the design competition was because he started to gain popularity. People really liked his work. So for example, George Washington, it was a claim that George Washington really liked his work, and Washington was the one that invited him to join the competition to design the White House. The White House is in a neoclassical Greco-Roman design that was very common in those times. And so to make the claim that the White House was designed based on Masonic principles, not necessarily. It was more a Greco-Roman style that was very popular, a neoclassical style that was very popular at the time. Did Freemasons build the White House? Yes. So in addition to Hoban serving as the architect, there were at least, I want to say, about 20 to 30 known Freemasons, stonemasons, carpenters, sawyers, all these different individuals who would work on different aspects of the construction. That said, of the 20 or 30 Freemasons, there were about 120 workers that were working on the White House and the United States Capitol. In addition, of course, to slaves that were also working on in both of those buildings. So to claim that it was entirely built by Freemasons, no, you can't make that claim. But there were Masons that participated in the construction. Did Freemasons lay out or lay the White House cornerstone? Yes, they did. In October 1792, Freemasons participated in the laying of the first stone of the White House. They call it the Cornerstone. And in fact, a little nugget of information on that was that that first ceremony was one of the earliest Masonic activities in the District of Columbia. And in fact, it was one of the early Masonic regular activities in the district. That was one of the first public events that occurred in the district after they created the District of Columbia. Did Freemasons find the White House cornerstone? We really don't know where the White House cornerstone, the original White House cornerstone, is. Also, you got to remember that the White House was destroyed when the British invaded and burnt down most of the public buildings in D.C. Not only do we not know where the first stone is, but we don't know if that stone survived and was used to rebuild the White House. Did Freemasons arrange the streets of Washington, D.C.? I think this is probably the question that I get all the time. No, the Masons did not. I can tell you now, and I promise you it's the truth, that they did not lay the streets of Washington in Masonic form.